Thank you. That's the next thing. So I was on. Oh, yeah, I teach, well, I teach preschool, so it's not like real teaching, but it kind of helps. Yeah. Yes.
Hey, so our friends online, we're going to get started in about 60 seconds. I'm just doing some editing here. Hey, Kurt or Marissa or anybody online, can you see the full presentation on your end?
I can.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Good evening. Welcome to Sutton Middle School Go Team meeting, where we will follow an agenda as it has been emailed to you and publicly noticed. I would like to remind everyone that this is a meeting of the Go Team. Only members of the team may participate in the discussion. Any members of the public present are here to quietly observe. For members of the Go Team, please identify yourself when you speak. I am pleased to call this meeting of the Sutton Mills Go Team order at 5:33 p.m. Our first order of business is to call roll. Secretary will now take the roll.
All right, Dominique Merriweather.
Present.
Ms. Halton.
Present.
Sullivan.
Present.
Scott.
Here.
Lamar. Williams.
Present.
Bryant. Here. Iverson. Rosenblum.
Present.
Bailey. Present.
This team will only be able to take official action if a quorum is present. Mr. Bryant, is there a quorum present?
Yes.
Our first order of business is to approve the agenda. This was provided to you and copies are here. Are there any changes to the agenda? May I have a motion to approve the agenda? Motion. Second. All in favor say aye. So the secretary can record your vote. All opposed say nay. Any abstentions, please say abstain. We will now review and approve the meeting minutes from our previous meeting. The minutes have been provided to you. Are there any corrections? If there are no further corrections, may I have a motion to approve the previous meeting minutes? A second? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Any abstentions, please say abstain. Okay. We will now move to the discussion item and the principal's report.
Yeah, so thank you for that, Madam Vice Chair, and thank you for filling in today for Mr. Lamar. Mr. Lamar is absolutely guys because he's on the Orlando trip. So we're just keeping him in our prayers as he with our sixth graders. And so for today, the principal's report and the discussion items, we pushed those into one, and I wanted to move those up on the agenda because we do have some guests online, and I wanted to be respectful of their time. And so while I introduce them, I'm going to make this a little bigger. We have Executive Director of Curriculum and Instruction for Atlanta Public Schools, Dr. Anya Payne, who's on the call with us. Right on the left. Thank you, Dr. Payne, for being here. And we have Mr. Curtis Douglas, Associate Superintendent for, it's the feeder pattern now, Mr. Douglas. I know they changed it. It's feeder
well, for me, it's secondary schools, and I happen to have the North Atlanta feeder pattern. Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm going to get that right next time I introduce you. My apologies. And so again, Mr. Curtis Douglas, feeder pattern for North Atlanta School Secondary. So with that, the only item we do have is on Mastery Connect. I do know Ashley mentioned adding it to our agenda. And so I'm opening the floor for the discussion. And again, this is, like I said, the principal's report regarding Mastery Connect. And so the floor is open. I guess we'll yield it to you, Ashley, as you added it to the agenda.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I think we've heard from a lot of people this week, the last few weeks about their views on Mastery Connect. From what I understand from Dr. King, what you had, informed me is that Mastery Connect is the system that deliver tests on,
Yes.
and that it is a school's choice whether we're going to use district-made tests or, I guess, the alternative is a teacher-made tests.
Okay.
So it seems to me from the feedback we've gotten, the district-made tests are pretty problematic or they've been challenging. I think parents are pretty upset about them. So I didn't know, obviously it's too late, to change their testing right now, before milestones are up there. So, but I think it warrants consideration for next year as you guys as leaders that look at what we're gonna do next year. If we are, some questions I had, like, is data, that's being collected on Mastery Connect with the district tests, are they showing that we're having better student output for like math? Milestones, obviously, we don't know that yet because we haven't taken them. But there just seems to be a lot of problems, a lot of misaligned rigor and standards being tested to what's, being taught in the classroom and with flat out errors. So I don't know what I gathered from everything. And then my own experience with my 7th grader and 6th grader as well.
Yeah, and sorry guys, this is Joel. I'm a little bit late. I am very fascinated to learn, because it does seem like there's some sort of a shadow campaign going on against Mastery Connect with all the emails I'm getting from these parents and text messages that I've been getting from folks. My own 7th grader, I asked him about it and he's like, yeah, it's a different testing platform. He did not have anything sort of good, bad, or indifferent to say about it, but I imagine, Dr. Merriweather, like what we're seeing is probably are you hearing from a lot of parents and students about it and these issues, or kind of what's your take?
My take on it is, you're right, it is a shadow campaign happening, Joel. From over 2,000 families, I did the counts, we heard from about 11 regarding Mastery Connect, but there really is a disconnect because when I'm in the building team and I am speaking to students and speaking to teachers, and students are saying, no, my teacher covered this, my teacher did this, just kind of hearing from the student's perspective, it makes it hard when students are saying, hey, I felt good about these assessments because the material was covered. But on the flip side of that, I think it's best to kind of go back to understand that when teachers are planning, teachers just don't give an assessment to kids. They do something called the backwards design model. Is anyone here familiar with the backwards design model when it comes to planning? Of course, teachers aren't. And so when we talk about backwards design, this is simply where you take the assessment, you look at the assessment, and you see what students will be assessed on. And so once you've looked at this assessment, that then personalizes your instruction, right, to deliver teaching to kids. So making sure you hit all the standards, making sure you cover not necessarily teaching to a test, but you're teaching to the standards. And so teachers engage in that process and they give the assessment at the end of the unit when they have taught all of the standards. And so that is the model we use here at Sutton. And so I do understand there have been some instances with like test corrections and just errors there. But I know, and I know you mentioned, I can't say a lot. I can only say I know one specifically where there was an issue, two specifically where I know the team told me they reached out to someone downtown and it was rectified. But as far as, the school having an option, and this is why Mr. Douglas is here, they're really, and I'll let him speak to his expectations for the schools that he supervises regarding Mastery Connect assessment. So, Mr. Douglas, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Or almost good evening, but good afternoon. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So I do want to say, I'm going to say some real general things, and if I'm wrong, Dr. Payne can come on and correct me. because I don't want to say anything that's incorrect. But what I do know is that we use Mastery Connect to assess where students are. We've been using MAP for the last few years, and MAP is not specific to standards. It does give an assessment for us, but it's not specific to standards. Now, let me say, in most metro districts, I can't speak for everyone, but I can speak for several, they do give checkpoints and a unit test similar to what we're doing here at APS. And so if you look at Fulton, Clayton, I know Gwinnett has their own assessments. And what they're able to do is they're able to align those with standards. And they also compare that data within the school, but also to other schools, within their same grade levels. And it's able to help students master standards. And like Dr. Merriweather stated, it helps them, backwards design, but also prepare students for EOC, but also to help master standards. So that's where we are in sort of a general way with Mastery Connect. It's far from perfect. We'll be the first to admit that, whether it be in this meeting or publicly, but I know there were a few kinks in there. I use that word for lack of a better term, but I know the district has been working very hard on any issues that have occurred, and we've gotten so much better with time. But what I can say is that I don't see us moving away from I'll call it unit exam or a checkpoint in the near future. So whatever we use and whatever way we do it, there will be a checkpoint, there will be unit assessments to help us with our teaching and student learning. We won't back from that. Now, I don't open another can of worms, but are our students tested a lot? I will be the first to admit that. I would be remiss if I said they weren't. So we still have to figure that out to a degree. And, maybe it's less MAP in the future if we really, as we continue to use Mastery Connect or any other assessment we decide to use. And I will speak on the fact for the schools, you're correct. We're given the discretion or the autonomy to give Mastery Connect and checkpoints at certain points. Certain schools were had to give it, based on a designation. I, as associate superintendent, strongly suggested to the schools and the secondary schools in the North Atlanta cluster that they give one last Mastery Connect checkpoint in order to assess where students are. So if there is some angst or you want to get mad at somebody, you can blame me because I did strongly suggest it for this last checkpoint. I don't know if we'll have a point where we'll ever reach where we'll go back on that, where we won't have one at the last of the semester, unless we all start getting into like the 90, 95 CCRPI, scores. But what I can say is that I did strongly suggest that for this year, just so we can see where students are as we move forward. I don't know what it'll look like next year exactly as far as scheduling for that test, but we did feel strongly that we needed one more. And I know that doesn't necessarily make people happy because of the number of tests we give, but I certainly will admit and stand in line and say that we give a lot. So I know I said a lot just now, and it was just a general overview, but that does answer at least one question about the number that we gave, particularly this last one. And it also speaks to the fact that regardless of any issues with Mastery Connect or anything we use, that part of testing is not going away. So that was just kind of my general way of putting that out there. And I hope that was able to maybe answer a couple of questions that are lingering. And I know that Dr. Payne can speak more can articulate much better than me any specific questions around Mastery Connect and its purpose and everything else related to that. So I hope I made sense to everyone. It is a little late, but I think I said what I said made sense. And I'll take any questions from there, or maybe want to hear from Dr. Payne. And after she explains more, there may be less questions.
Thanks,
Good afternoon, everyone. A pleasure to be here. Thank you so much, Principal Merriweather, for inviting me and allowing me to just share a little bit about Mastery Connect. So just to give you a broad overview, everything that we do is related to teaching and learning is aligned to the standards. So our teachers have curriculum guides, which is a calendar, so to speak, of when to teach the standards, ensuring that they cover all standards by the end of the school year and that our students are successful on GMAS. So we have a curriculum guide and teachers are teaching instruction aligned to the standards. We have plenty of assessments, whether that is a teacher observation, an exit ticket for that day, a weekly assessment, a unit assessment, a mid-semester checkpoint to determine how well they're doing on the standards, or of course, the Super Bowl, so to speak, with GMAS. And so we have multiple opportunities to assess our students so that we can make real-time adjustments and instructional pivots in real time by having item analysis, identifying what standards students might need to have reteaching or reviewing. So there are multiple opportunities and benchmarks where we want to assess our students to ensure that they are learning what we are teaching. And so I just wanted to share a little bit about Mastery Connect. It is a platform in which assessments are uploaded. So I think that there's been some conversations on how the assessments are written. We have item banks, and we wanted to make sure that we had two separate item banks. One item bank was for teachers to use because, again, they have daily assessments, weekly assessments, and we wanted to make sure that the items that we were having students participate on common assessments were not overlapping. So Mastery Connect has two different item banks, one that the district is exposed to, and then others that teachers are able to utilize. And so at our common assessments, which are unit assessments at the end of every unit, we have the opportunity, and like Mr. Douglas said, at some schools it was required, at some schools it was a school-based decision. But we have that there so that, again, teachers are able to assess the students to ensure that they have mastered the standards taught in that particular unit before they move on in alignment to that curriculum guide. And so our assessments are written or created and developed with the items in the item bank. So teachers are not, or our district leaders are not making up questions. They may refine them or revise them, again, to make sure that they are aligned to our standards. And so also to make sure that they have the depth of knowledge, because we want to make sure that our questions are not just recall. And so sometimes at the teacher level, they may have some questions that they throw out to students that may teach or may assess around the standard and not directly to the standard. So sometimes the assessments at the district level are a little bit more rigorous, so to speak, because we are pinpointing the exact standard and what the students will be assessed on GMAS. Yes, we have a vetting process where after the assessments are made by our district staff, we bring in teachers, we bring in instructional coaches. Thank you to Principal Merriweather. Some of his staff have been involved in that vetting process where they take the assessment like a student and make sure that it is aligned to the standard and depth of knowledge. There was some concern also around passages not being aligned to different grade levels. Every passage that is utilized on Mastery Connect is aligned by grade level and standard. So students are not exposed to 2 and 3 grade levels of content. So we want to make sure that it's appropriate and it's valid and that our students are able to be successful on those assessments. There's some other questions that have come up around parents being able to see the assessment. Again, just like MAP, we do not provide parents the assessments. However, we do have item analysis. We do have other opportunities, and I think Principal Merriweather extended his team to have their teachers share with parents the assessment right then and there, but they were unable to actually provide that assessment to parents. So we are unable to do that, but we do make sure that we provide opportunities for parents to know exactly how their students are performing on standards so that they can either get tutoring or, like I said, teachers make real-time adjustments. I'm trying to think of some other things that were brought to my attention. Testing schedule, yes, like Mr. Douglas said. We took into consideration, I believe there was a parent task force related to assessments and how often we test and when we test. And so there were some scaling back of assessments this year, but because of pathways like advanced math, we put it back on the table as an opt-in so that parents and students have the opportunity to qualify for advanced math. So although it was removed from the assessment calendar, we did want to make sure that students had the opportunity to have access to that particular assessment. I'm going to pause there because I know I've said a lot. If there's any questions that I could clarify other than that, I'll be happy to do so.
Thank you, Dr. Payne. I do have a question. So I think we all understand that Mastery Connect's software platform that you deliver, right?
Yes.
I'm
I'm struggling to hear a little bit, but I can hear you. But if you can speak just a little louder.
She's coming to the computer,
yeah.
Dr. Payne.
Okay.
Okay.
I think we all understand that Mastery Connect is the platform that, tests are delivered on. I think what has been problematic, what we're hearing from parents, what I've personally experienced, what my students have experienced is the errors and the standards that are not being tested correctly on the test made by the district. And those tests are what Sutton has chosen to use for our unit tests, correct? Otherwise, I think you had told me that we can have a choice to allow our teachers to make their own unit tests. I'm not talking about midpoint assessments or MAP or anything like that. I'm talking about the unit tests.
Yes.
So that's a school level decision using a district test.
Well, we have common assessments where every sixth grader, seventh grader is able to be exposed to the same assessment. There are schools who are required to take the assessment, and there are others who it's a school-based decision. As a former principal, I would always ensure that my students have the opportunity to take a unit assessment because it does provide a snapshot of how well the students did on the standards. Again, sometimes there is sometimes some ambiguity as it relates to teachers coming up with their own assessments because we want to make sure, again, it's aligned to the particular standard that will be assessed on GMAS. And yes, when those corrections or errors were brought to our attention, we made real-time adjustments. Some of those were technology enhanced errors, and some of them may have been a content error or two, but we are writing assessments for K through 12, all content areas. And also we have a vetting team to help support that work. And it seems like Principal Merriweather has a second vetting process where when we do release those assessments that they have that backwards design. So I think we have some safety nets in place to help us ensure that we're putting out quality assessments. So yes, have we had some challenges? Yes. But we, again, have made, those changes in real time, and we work to ensure that we just continue to get better with our assessments. To your point, there are opportunities in the future for us to explore some other pathways or platforms that may be a little bit more, they just may be different in the way that they are developed, and their item banks may be have more depth than the ones that we're utilizing in Instructure or Mastery Connect. So, yes.
Okay. I mean, because I know there's been errors like on recent things like social studies. 8th grade had an error. So, I mean, you mentioned like one, and then I'm concerned about math. Like a lot of people are failing the math, and then there's no opportunity to retake. So you're doing it on a different platform. So there seems like there's inconsistency there as well. And I think parents are concerned because there's no transparency about where the kids are passing and failing and as a whole. And
we just have this hearsay and we have parents frustrated, and it just doesn't seem like it's a good system.
Yeah, well, I think we're being very transparent as it relates to item analysis. I think that's the biggest bang for your buck when you're able to sit and see what items and what standards were not mastered. And then the teachers are able again to have reteaching or review on those particular standards. We are just unable to provide an assessment to parents as it relates to, the fidelity and validity of the test as well.
I guess I'm still confused on what is a school choice.
Yeah, so it seems like Ashley is confused on the school choice. Clear with Mr. Douglas on the call. While the school and the instructional team, instructional experts doing this work made the decision in totality to say, hey, yes, we will use these assessments from the district level because as a school, we understand the importance of rigor. As a school, we understand the exposure of what we want our kids to be at. And to be quite frank, our teachers are not an assessment builder. They aren't equipped and they aren't trained to build assessments. And so what we won't do as a school.
Why would they not be equipped?
So there's another layer when it comes to developing assessments, when it comes to making sure full alignment. That's a different job. That's a whole different layer when it comes to education, when it comes to quality assessment building. And so,
Principal Merriweather, I would like to just interject for HMH. So for the ELA, we do have assessments already built for that platform. So the unit assessments for HMH are already built and developed by HMH. Next year, we're having a new textbook adoption for math and science, and those resources do also have unit assessments. So as we're moving forward, we're trying to refine and make sure we're putting high quality instructional materials in front of children. And so we will have a new textbook adoption for math and science that has those assessments built into them as well. So our ELA math and science next year will have already made built-in assessments. And so it takes the heavy lift off of our district department as well as teachers.
And I want to reiterate again, not to get people mad or at me, but just to reiterate that there was choice in the matter. It was strongly suggested by me for the schools that I covered that we have one more checkpoint prior to EOG and EOC for the sake of fidelity to see how well students are doing. MAP doesn't necessarily predict that in a way that we can confidently say that. So that was the reason behind it. I also want to say as well is that part of the whole checkpoint and unit assessments are to help guide with teaching as well. So I know there's some, and students typically, and this is across district too, not just APS, it's a test where students don't necessarily, I'll use an old school word, ace, all the time. And so there will be some, the reason why we use them is so teachers can reteach sometimes and see what we can work on with the standards. So I just want to put that out there as well. It's not designed so students don't do well, but it is typical. And again, it's not just APS. You could probably go across the country and look at what schools have checkpoints and unit assessments. And there's a lot of different names you can use for them. But it is typical that even your best students don't necessarily ace those, not because of a lack of teaching, but just because there's some standards that there's standards for students. And so it's not just like a standard assessment like a map where you're looking at different content per se. So I hope that makes sense as well. Again, it's not that students won't do well, but just want to cover that in case it's lifted that, hey, my student didn't do as well as I think they should or should have. And it is a reflection on teaching, but also on the exam itself so that we can consistently teach, reteach, and enrich students.
Hey guys, it's Marissa. I just wanted to jump in here really quick. It sounds like these assessments and their job is to figure out like where the students are at, whether they have what they have mastered or not mastered. Could you look at this instead of then? Can you look at it as a not graded piece, people are, I think, I want to reiterate some of the feedback we've gotten to you that I feel like maybe we haven't covered yet. Like, could this just be an information tool rather than a graded tool? Because it sounds like a bunch of kids are learning from their teachers, they're taking these quizzes, they're doing great, and then it comes to this and they're getting 30. And that may state that there's stuff they haven't learned yet, but maybe they shouldn't be tested on it for grades yet. And it can just be used as information for the teacher on how to circle back, how to reiterate topics, how to cover topics again, rather than it being a grade in the grade book.
So most of the mid-semester checkpoints are to monitor progress. And maybe not necessarily graded. And I'm not sure, Principal Merriweather, if you utilize it in that way or not. Unit assessments are typically graded because it is a culmination of that unit and determining if that is mastery or not. But the mid-semester checkpoints are typically not graded.
Yeah, hey, Dr. Payne, just for clarity, and Marissa, for clarity there, we're making sure we're on the same page here. So we have checkpoint assessments. And so if parents go to emails, we shared when we did our checkpoint assessments, those are just for informational purposes only. Those are in the grade book, but there is not a weight on those assessments. That is to guide instruction. And you guys know we do personalized learning here. So that's personalized learning with acceleration and remediation. So for the checkpoints, they're in the grade book as for an informational piece for parents, but it's not a grade. Now, on the flip side, the unit assessments, those do carry weight, and those are in the grade book and in alignment with the high school, because the high school, in preparation for that, they take unit assessments, and those are graded. And so getting our students ready, making sure there's alignment as what's to come, is only appropriate that we are in as much alignment with North Atlanta High School as we can to make sure our kids are properly ready for high school and knowing that expectation. I just wanted to make sure I was clear with everyone with the difference between checkpoints not being weighted and the unit assessments being weighted.
But with assessments, there's unit assessments when there's items that are wrong, or the teacher has to go back, is there grade adjustment?
Yes. So,
okay.
So teachers, from my understanding, is that all teachers, when they have noted that there's an issue with the assessment, they go back, they either delete the question or they adjust it. And so kids are not impacted by, and kids get to actually score that data.
Okay, when you talk about that, I just want to say, like, from feedback from my own child, and I've heard this, I think we've seen it in a lot of our emails, that some of these questions have this is verbiage from my daughter directly, very confusing options for answers, very similar ones that, and this is what she said, seem to try to be tricking you. So multiple answers that could be correct. So I know you guys said you're revisiting it and you're keep going back in, but that seems to be a consistent feedback on these unit assessments.
That is what they should be exposed to, because that is what they will have on Georgia Milestones. They will have technology enhanced where they have to make multiple selections. They'll have drop and drag. And so that is an experience that we want them to have practice with. So the first time that they see it will not be on GMAT. So that is correct in the way that those items are developed. It's not just a multiple choice.
I mean, maybe there needs to be more practice on taking these types of exams, but then we're teaching to the test,
Yeah. And so at the school level, and this is why I tell parents it's so critical to get in front of teachers, because based on the adjustments with the Georgia Milestones, the type of questions that kids will engage, teachers are actually exposing kids to those questions throughout their instructional period. So it might not be a formal assessment, it might not be a unit assessment, but there are opportunities, whether it's a do now, whether it's the exit ticket, where it's in full alignment with what kids will take on the milestone. So just don't wait to get to unit assessment to get that exposure. It's embedded based on the teachers and their team when they're planning for kids, when they expose those kids to those various types of questions.
I mean, I just would like to see the correlation, because with my own kid, scores high on math and milestones, but it's like an F on the unit tests. So I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah. So I definitely think right now, just for the sake of time, is 6:06. Yeah, and so I just want to kind of keep the conversation going, but I wanted to kind of shift the conversation to more solution oriented and just next steps, what we're doing to get through this school year. I appreciate Dr. Payne for sharing there are already supports and systems in place as far as we're forecasting for the upcoming school year to pivot and to make adjustments to the assessment platforms and the quality of questions. So thank you, Dr. Payne, to you and your team.
Absolutely. One last point. We do have a principal focus group. So as we are meeting with Mastery Connect and working through Mastery Connect, at the same time, we have a focus group comprised of elementary, middle, and high school principals who are helping us with other platforms, vetting them, looking at other opportunities and options. And so, like I said before, we want to make sure that we have the best product and the best curriculum resources in front of our students. And so, it is not lost that we're just, adamant about Mastery Connect. We want to make sure we have the best resources in front of our students. And we are at this time looking to see if Mastery Connect is the best or if there's another option for us to leverage in our schools.
Too quick, thank
So
you, Dr.
thank you so much, Sutton team.
Thank you so much, Dr. Payne.
Okay, you're welcome.
Mr. Douglas just texted me. He said he has to go into a community meeting, but he's always open to questions. And so he just said, thank you for allowing him to be here. And then got a text message from our instructional coach who's watching via YouTube, who shared that all of our kids are using the HMH platform. And in that platform, there are tech-enhanced questions throughout the platform. So all of the kids are being exposed to tech-enhanced questions as well. So she just wanted me to share that message with the whole team. And so right now, because we shouldn't have many unit assessments left, we are about to be at milestones. And so if anything, people will probably have 1 or 2 unit assessments left. And so what to okay, there's some science. And so right now, getting through Mastery Connect assessments, we've developed a double layered vetting process where for the assessments, my curriculum and instruction team will review the assessments prior to teachers even review. From there, teachers will take the assessment and back to that backwards design model, they will go through every single question, every single answer choice, making sure there are no errors, all of those things. And so once they confirm this test is legit, it's solid to go, they will teach. And then at the end, they will then give that assessment to students. And so for the immediate getting through this year with these assessments for the unit, this is the plan that we have in place as a school. I do welcome feedback and suggestions after hearing that.
Okay. I hate that you guys have to do that.
Yes.
It's more work on your work.
Yep. And so it's just a matter of really, like I said, getting through this year with the assessment. I am hopeful with Dr. Payne's team as they again principal focus groups working on the assessment that I 100% can say that I can feel like we won't be in this space again for the upcoming school year. And at the end of the day, regardless of personal feelings, want to ground us in, we're all here for these kids. And there's an opportunity to get better and to be better. So I definitely want to thank the parents who reached out to us about Mastery Connect, even the advocacy here, because we know exactly what kids need. And we have to make sure we're protecting them and being fair at the same time. And so we'll continue to take the feedback. If parents want to continue emailing us, perfectly fine. What we're able to do is gather that data, send it in as feedback to our district officials saying, hey, this is coming from our Sutton community, and we wanted you guys to be aware of what parents are saying and sharing.
And now Howard too has also had a lot of issues and they over the past year.
Oh, I know that. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
How do you handle the letters? What's some responsibilities?
Yeah, so I've either done one of two things, because there have been a few let's talk, allow me to respond on the team's behalf. I believe I'm just best situated to do so. I need teachers folks who are teaching and you guys folks on the go team and other things you have going. And so either at the same time with Mr. Douglas and Dr. Payne, they said he's forwarding to us, we'll respond back. You guys are trying to prepare for milestones, focusing on that. And so for the most part, when I get the information, just being clear with everyone, I'm simply saying, thank you for sharing this feedback. We will forward this to the appropriate personnel downtown in the district office, and we will make sure that we continue to make note of this and almost I am keeping track of all of the emails and things that we are getting.
If we get anything on the side or not to be included,
Scoring to me. Maybe scoring to me. Yeah, new school, so figuring it out. And so again, we'll work with school when people think us, and we'll continue to support the parents, communicate, respond back. No problem. No problem. So no, I have to.
I'd love for them to have a voting. Too, but we all kind of get voted
On the unit assessments.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, that's a different conversation, but no, definitely, I know the kids can write score and all of that, that's. Okay.
Okay, we will be going over our discussion. Okay, so our discussion item, our next discussion item up is the final budget recommendation.
Absolutely, and so this is, the last meeting, you guys are called the season finale, and so it has been a joy working through the budget, going over various school topics, and so I just want to take a moment to share just some updates to our budget. And so since our last meeting that we had as a GO team, there was some slight adjustments made based on school numbers, based on positions, and so I'm going to go over that with you guys right now on this slide. And so, based on the changes from our last meeting, currently we have an ESOL coordinator, and it costs the school about $131K to find our ESOL coordinator. Well, what we've done is still keeping this same role, but because we have so many ESOL students and the amount of work that comes with this, we have, as a school team, decided to make this an ESOL instructional coach, adding to our curriculum and instruction team. And so with that, as you can see, the price of that instructional coach is $156,000 when compared to the $131 for the ESOL coordinator. Now I'm talking about, well, how are we going to make up the difference? Well, I'm going to thank you for asking. I'm going to explain here. Previously, we said, previously we said that we needed 3 teachers allocated. However, as we are currently scheduling, looking at our numbers and shifting some things around from our master schedule, we're able to effectively remove 1 teacher, keeping class sizes balanced, and that 1 teacher cost us $131,000. And so what we've done with that, with those funds, there's a need to add a school-funded custodian. We got to have kids in clean buildings. We got to have them in clean eating spaces and classrooms. And so just being fully transparent based on the district allocations, many schools were hit with custodians being removed. And so we were hit where they pulled 1 custodian from us. And so we then in return had to figure out a way to still keep the custodian, we're the second largest school in the district. And so I would always ask for more custodians, but based on what we can afford, it cost us $69,000 for that 1 custodian. And so when you look at this 1 teacher we removed for the 131, adding the 69K, and then also the difference between the 131 and 156, we're really doing extremely well budget, almost like a 2-for-1 type thing. But we've added a custodian and the instructional coach, and we're still looking pretty solid. We're not a deficit with funds. We're still able to manage. And so with this ESOL coordinator position, now the ESOL instructional coach, this individual will have the opportunity to work with ESOL students, to work with DLI students, and to also work with multiple areas within the building, getting more bang for our buck. And so going back to our SIP, because I want to bring it full circle, when we talk about subgroups, when we talk about our students with disabilities, we talk about our ESOL students, this is just a way that we're able to reflect within our budget our intention on supporting specific subgroups, but also this specific, these specific students who truly need the support in our building. Any questions about this? So in sense, before I move on, 1 custodian and shifting that coordinator position to an instructional coach. Those were the only changes. And again, you've seen this screen before, and I have the pie chart next as far as just our current allocation of the budget, where you're able to see the funds based on the FTE amount. And then budget by function. Sorry, those words are extremely small, but of course the blue is instruction. The majority of our budget, 76% is instruction, and it breaks down just by color where everything else goes. Discussion and questions about what I just shared with the changes from our previous GO team meeting conversation. Yes.
So the ESOL coordinator who floated between the campuses will have instructional coach, instructional coach who will join the campus.
Correct.
And will be, okay.
Correct. So that person will fall under Felicia Henderson's leadership on the campus team and will still float between campuses. but that role would be more impactful as far as the level of work and amount of work that's happening. So ideally, Mr. Vance is our student services assistant principal. So working in tandem of about 50-50, but more with the curriculum team and classroom supporting teachers and PLCs, but also the paperwork side of things that comes along with ESOL and the testing and things of that sort. So I just think it's just better for us to be able to have someone who's able to do more than what the current position is. Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
And what do we expect from projection? Like, what do we need? Like, do we need to look at the numbers for next year to get this budget? Like, is there an estimate?
No,
Or
so
wait, this is our budget.
this is our budget. Yeah, so
Okay.
we've met our projections. We're actually over the number off the top of my head. I can't remember, but we're actually over. I think it was about 10 or 15 students. But the funny thing I always say, we still enroll students even after we get the budget and the projections are there. See. Oh, yeah, so yeah, so we're all good as far as projections. We're not, we didn't lose any money. We actually earned more. This is because of our new.
Yeah.
Okay. Our first action item is the final budget recommendation. Do I hear a motion to approve this item?
Motion. Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? We're good?
So we already discussed the principal support. That was really all I had for Mastery Connect new assessments. Now, although I had that there, because it's our final meeting, is there anything else that I can speak to or you guys would like to lift to me? Just as far as I can speak to in this current statement, so that was kind of a big topic, the Mastery Connect unit assessments there. But anything for me from staff side, parent side, community side, that I can speak to.
I wanted to go back to what Dr. Merriweather was speaking on as far as the questions, the type of questions that we have started to kind of, align with the standards and also Mastery Connect. Right now, we started something called March Madness, and we're all in alignment with that. And I think what it is the students they're just not used to those type of questions and the distractors, or but we have been working closely with the students every single day in my reading class, and they come in there with a question, and there is a little ambiguity. It's like, oh, I'm doing it, but that seems like it could be, and it's good because it starts the discussion, so it gets them prepared for these types of questions and distractors. And we're all doing it in every class, every day. We have we sat in here with the Candy team and administrators, and we sat together as teams and created these questions based off of the time. So it is getting them to think.
Curriculum and instruction. So it's CANDI, curriculum and instruction.
Yeah.
Those are our instructional coaches and our assistant principal over curriculum, Ms. Henderson.
And they love it. They come in the class and they're like, oh, we're ready. And, they're discussing the questions and they're like, well, I think it's A. No, I think it's, well, tell me why do you think so? I think it'll be fun.
And then the important thing is the exposure. Like when we realized the Georgia Milestones, they amped up their level of questioning and with teachers. When we realized as a leadership team that the test is shifting as far as the type of writing they're doing, and even the level of questioning, it's only fair that as a school team, we take that, we mock it, we expose our kids to those types of questions. And so when I heard Marissa say her kid said, oh, it seemed like it was trying to confuse me. Well, I love hearing that because that is the same type of rigor and the same level of questioning that the kids will see on the milestones. And so I'd rather we expose them. We have those conversations, to your point. We help them break down how you get to the correct answer choice. Then us not exposing them. They get there and they're deer in headlights. They're like, well, what is this? I never knew I would get this type of question. And so I personally, as a person, look at one of these things. It's an opportunity for our kids to productively struggle with us. We're able to coach them, able to guide them, but we can't go into the milestone saying, we know we gave them these type of questions, that type of questions. We know we challenged them to where they were disappointed because they weren't getting it right. But when they get there, they have that level of, oh, I've seen this type of question before. I know how to do an item elimination to get to the correct answer. And so that's what we've been focusing on for March Madness, making sure that we're hitting it for all content areas. And so proud of the teachers for leading that work. And I believe the kids get like a walk and talk or something at the end for those engaging in the March Madness assignments, because I think it goes along with progress learning as well. And so just really trying to incentivize the kids, keep them motivated, but give them, again, I can't stress the level of exposure needed, what they're about to, come to the Super Bowl of the Georgia Mousehole.
And it's funny because I see a lot of parents say progress learning. They would prefer the term on progress learning. But just as a teacher for science, I look at those progress learning questions. I'm like, some of them are harder than the Master Connect questions. So I really try to expose my kids as well. And I know where they really struggle is those select all that apply. Those questions, for some reason, just select all that apply or choose the best answer. So some of them are going to look the same, but it's asking them choose the best. Which one is the best choice? So we really are trying to work on those techniques with the kids so they can.
And the kids, they get frustrated, right? However, that's what we're there to help them through the frustration and go over the questions. And I tell parents it's okay for the kids to be frustrated, but are they being guided correctly? Is the teacher taking the time to break down this question to help them get and help them understand this is how we landed with this answer?
I think it's such a great skill to teach the kids. It's like, how do you handle the question? You don't have to answer elimination, or how do you think, and that's great, because that'll help them all throughout all the testing they're going to go through in the future years. So I really appreciate that. And it's those little things that you don't think about as a parent necessarily. You just look at the final number, you're like, this number's not exactly that, but you have to just think about what you guys are teaching. You're teaching life skills. That is, truly appreciate it. I'm so glad you mentioned that. And that's kind of a lot of what I tell my children. I said, this is about life. Like, you are learning life lessons right now that I can help guide you through while you're in school. And then you're going to be off on your own. So this, and your teachers are familiar with this too. You're not going to like every teacher. You're not going to like every student. Like, this is what we learn how to do. You learn how to handle these life lessons while you're in school. So you have your support system so that when you go out. So I'm really thankful to hear those kind of things. There's like just a lot of purpose behind it, and it's really appreciated.
We appreciate that, and I'll share that feedback with our Candy team. And again, we're just looking to be innovative, to try something different, and really to make sure there's alignment with what we're doing, so kids really can be ready. That's our responsibility, giving us this readiness, whatever's coming down the road for them. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think also I also just, and I'm not bragging on Mr. Bryant, but when I went into his classroom, when my daughter had him last year, there was the standard that was written on the board, and that was, that was the goal, and it was very clear. And so when we're testing with a standards-based assessment, for me, it's like I feel confident that they really and truly understand the standard and not just the process. Because I think I was telling Dr. Merriweather, when I was learning math, it was algebra, you do this and you do this, and you just did it. And the concept, you didn't really understand the greater concept of why. And so really forcing the kids to be uncomfortable, and even the parents too, sometimes when we're having to relearn certain things because there is a bigger component to it.
And so before we move on, as we kind of just put a stamp on or close the book on, just our unit assessment, I think there is a level of accountability on both sides when we look at the questions that we give children. And so again, I am not in favor of a kid taking an assessment and there are no errors. I get on my teachers and I love you guys, but they should be assessing, looking at those assessments, vetting them as well, which they do. And so if there's a mix up or slip up, we have to also look at a school. Well, where did we mess up as a school? Where was an opportunity for us to get better and stronger with this if we know we're teaching this? But again, a kid should not take an assessment and if the adult knows for a fact, hey, there's an error on the assessment, that is a non-negotiable. So internally, we are working with teachers, joining those POC meetings when they meet weekly, when it comes to the assessments. And so, like I said, just looking to get through this year, but add these safeguards. And so students are continuing to be motivated. Students don't, I don't want them to be anxious and have all this anxiety when it comes to testing. We truly want to make sure the testing space is accurate. And so again, to the parents online watching, we'll continue to send the feedback in, and we'll appreciate it. It just supports, our argument, what we're sharing. And so I appreciate all of you for getting all the emails. Like I said, I've been responding, but teamwork makes the dream work. And so again, as long as we keep an open door policy of taking the feedback and not just taking it, but what are we going to do about it? And so knowing that there are already plans, and I'm on one of the committees of looking at assessments for next year, I do feel really good about just this shift, especially based on the amount of feedback we got. And so I think next is the cluster advisory team report. Okay.
Cluster advisory meeting report. Yep, so we have that. I emailed everyone out sort of the T3. You guys all get that?
Yep, you got it, yep.
So, and it sounds like, and Dr. Merriweather, you probably have more knowledge of this than I do, but it sounds like, there's gonna be an e-SPOS on the ballot for November, and they have to vote yes or no for the petty tax. So we're hoping it gets passed, and if it does, it sounds like that we will have some input cluster wise. Is that how much input do we really get? Like in your opinion?
Well,
in your
this is the first time that, and I appreciate Dr. Johnson and his team, because it's the first time I've ever seen a superintendent give community input and feedback. And so I do have the areas here to maybe hit them really quickly for everyone. So with the eSPLOS funds for capital improvement projects, basically when Ashley and I we were on the call, we had to kind of rank areas that we thought were important as far as for capital improvement projects. And so one of the areas we have facilities, infrastructure, another area technology, another area transportation, another area safety and security, another area athletics, and then a final area nutrition. And so it's good to hear from all the schools and kind of hear about what they found important, where they would like to invest in, what was needed for their particular school. And so I know Ashley, thank you for representing us. Did a great job of just talking about some of the things that she would like to see, but also bring back to the team to kind of have that discussion as well. So those were the areas when it comes to, improvements.
And it sounds like if it does fit, we'll have more opportunity to
Yep. And just for the teams, I believe, Ashley, correct me if I'm wrong, I know safety and security was number one.
Yeah.
That we said continuing to invest in safety and security. I want to say transportation, because I know that was a topic.
Yeah.
So between safety and security, transportation, and facilities, I believe, or technology, those were like the top three that we did a lot of just conversation. It's AC, we were talking about hot classrooms, cold classrooms. So those were the three facilities. Yes, don't get me started. And so we'll see, and that'll just be further conversation. But again, this is the first that I've seen just community input on how to spend these dollars based on not a generic formula, but based on the needs of schools. And that's what I really like about
it. Next, the strategic plan, cross-collaboration.
Oh, so there was conversation under the cluster advisory team meeting just about our strategic plan and how we're doing cross collaboration with schools. And so again, that was just kind of the kickoff conversation on what current schools are doing and how we can strengthen it. So just wanted to share that little piece. I think it's more to come from there as far as how we continue to partner. And specifically for us, we're looking at ways to strengthen our partnership with North Atlanta High School with Dr. Mitchell. Lovely team. They're always open. I know right now for a fact, on the lacrosse Mr. Saturday, for the lacrosse game. And so I know we have a coach from North Atlanta as far as athletics. They come over and they help out. The course teacher at North Atlanta, he comes over, he's working with Daggett and our course teacher to keep the pipeline of students singing strong. And so now it's just a matter of how can we replicate some of these things for math, for science, and things of that sort, where our high school teachers can plan with the middle school teachers and so forth. So we already have some things in the works about just a vertical alignment, is what we call it when it comes to plan. And so more information to come.
Next information item is committee report. Committee report is rolling off the thing next year. Okay, so we have 2 parents rolling off.
And Joel's rolling on. Okay. So I know you're on.
I'm still on.
Marissa, I believe, is still on.
So are we electing 2 people, or you assign one, right? 2, or you assign 2 people?
Yeah, so for the parents, I typically, the process is We identify names, and those names are brought forward to the go team. They've changed it over the years, but once they give us the information how they want us to proceed with identifying the new members,
That doesn't go on.
correct. So we'll just share whether it's via email, because we don't have another meeting on just that process and with the parents. I've already had parents reach out to me saying they're interested in being on those teams, so that's lovely. And we just go from
And it was good. Oh, yeah, no. Does anyone have any announcements? Does anyone have any announcements? All of them should have already applied. Yeah,
Yep.
I think it's closed.
It was already closed, yeah. And we did meet the district vote team's office. They sent information as far as the media report, as far as the number of people we needed to submit a declaration. And so we're all good on the staff side and the parent side.
Oh, yeah, because some people like don't have enough people that raise their hand. Yeah.
And so I know when I was looking at the information, I think Howard, they have one more, I think, no, one more parent person or someone who wanted to be on the team. And so they're kind of like beating us as far as the people who are raising their hands to join the vote team, but we're right behind. Yep.
All right, does anyone have any announcements? All right, we have reached the end of our agenda. Is there any additional business at this time? Okay, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Motion. Second. All in favor, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Thanks, Mary Stewart.
Thank you. All right, the meeting is adjourned.
All right.